me.
Ryan, congratulations. You are
Thank you.
so good in this film, and I love it so much. But I think it's crazy that you were the first person to get the manuscript for it.
Yeah, that seems crazy to me too, still.
What was it like from that moment to you eventually saying yes and then becoming Ryland Grace?
Why did I get it? I don't know. I agree with you.
No.
That was crazy. No, I do. I feel that way too. It was like, this is lightning in a bottle. I had no context for what I was about to read. I didn't know what the story was about, anything. I knew it was Andy Weir. I knew he was asking me to not just be it, but also produce it. Obviously, it hit me in a very deep and emotional way, as it does everyone. But I didn't know, because people hadn't started reading the book yet, that it would become what it has become, which is a modern sci-fi masterpiece. And one of the great science fiction books of all time. So no pressure. As we're slowly piecing it together, I'm starting to realize just how important this book is to people.
Yeah, and how good you are in it. Like, I do have to say, as much as people love Ryland Grace, they're going to love what you did with him
Oh, thank
even
you.
more. I think as the actor, if I was reading, I'd be like, okay, so I'm going to have to talk a lot with an alien.
Mhm.
I'm going to be mostly in my socks on a spaceship in a tube. There's going to be explosion. There's a lot of daunting aspects to this. What was the part that you were most like, oh, I got to do that? little intimidated by it?
It felt like the potential to make one of those core memory films that don't come along very often, that you just remember where you were when you saw them, that they make a huge impact on you emotionally, that it's such a shared experience. It's something Andy does in his work. I think that's really special. He gives you this opportunity to pivot away from dystopian future narratives that we have been saturated in, that the negative outcome has sort of permeated to the point where it feels inevitable. And he sort of creates this beautiful work that says, wait, hold on, maybe the future is not something to be feared, rather just figured out. And that opportunity to pivot, to think of it that way, to sort of see a character who turns his fear into curiosity. It's not just about panic. Even though the film is incredibly spectacular and it's like a journey like no other, it's somehow not escapist. It's this reminder of what we're capable of as human beings.
Yeah, and this is not your first project in space. I mean, you literally played the first man to walk on the moon. But I would think at this point, you were just like JPL yesterday. You must have like an affinity to space. Is there a love with it? You also are in that incredible Aliens SNL.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I just feel like you in space.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a space case, I guess. I can't help it.
But what
It's
do you think
got me.
intrigues you the most about it?
As much as I want to understand, I don't understand. I want so badly to understand. I love being around people who do. It's just, I don't feel done with it either. I feel like I could just keep doing it. It's endless.
Ah, I love that. And then there's a great line in the trailer that says, how does a school teacher end up in space trying to save the world? And
Mhm.
I think that's like an interesting way to sort of like put the whole bow on this experience. I would be curious for you, what was it like playing such a reluctant hero? Like,
Mm.
you know what I mean? Like a guy that doesn't necessarily know if he can do it.
Well, I related to it. I think, I think most of us can. So that's why it's such a powerful narrative, because it's not a character who's stoic or heroic and all of these things that we're used to seeing and that I have played before. It's way more relatable in the sense that this is someone who never even not only dreamed of being a hero, doesn't want to be a hero, and finds out that the fate of the world is in his hands. So I could relate, just in the sense that this book was such a powerful piece, potentially, an all-timer. And I just felt like, oh my God, I don't know how I'm going to do this. So I could use it. I just sort of channeled my own doubt as we were going through this almost 6-year process. And it just dovetailed perfectly with what the character was going through.
It's, again, so good. So well worth it. We got to get out of here. But if you could just real quick tell us what it was like working with Chris and Phil, because I know they were such a huge part of what y'all created.
There was no one else that could make this movie. It's funny to say that they're so singular because there's two of them, but they are. There's no one. There is no film like their films, and this film had to be that. We wouldn't be here if they hadn't agreed to do it. And like the character, they turn their fear and anxiety into curiosity. This was on some levels and at times thought to be maybe an impossible thing to make. especially given the time it was given to me was theaters were shutting down and movie productions were shutting down. But like they just roll up their sleeves and go, let's get to it. Let's figure it out. And they bring they're so intelligent and funny and emotional, and this movie had to be all of those things, and what they do, I think that they do like no other, is they make you laugh, they make you cry, make you laugh, cry, until by the end you're doing the coveted laugh, cry,
Craft.
the craft.
I'm not an astronaut.
If you don't go, you die. With the rest of us.
Sandra, congratulations on the movie. You are so good at it. I can't begin to say that.
Thank
But
you.
I do know that your character was one that the filmmakers were really worried that they wouldn't be able to cast. So what was it about the script? What was it about the project that made you want to sign up?
I'm glad they didn't tell me that they were struggling, because I would have so much pressure. I think being in the presence of these people was the reason why I wanted to be on this film. And of course, the story is incredible. And you don't get to play so many characters as a woman who are just powerful, successful, and don't need to pay for it in the end. So it's just like to be able to portray someone, or lend my body and my voice to somebody who is in charge and who is a great mind and who is actually also empathetic and warm with other people, was just a dream come true, not to speak of working with Ryan Gosling and the director's team. So I just couldn't pass.
I will say I'm more familiar with your work as the stuff prior to this. Obviously, I watched Anatomy of a Fall. Congratulations about Rose. Like, I just feel like, you're an independent filmmaker at heart, maybe I would say. But girl, you got some credits this year. You have this. You're also in Digger. What was it like? Because I read a quote where you said you didn't know if you could do a movie of this scale, like if that was the type of filmmaking you wanted to do.
It's strange because this film is also about somebody, becoming bigger than they thought they were. I did things in the last years that I would never have thought were possible. And I was lucky enough that people thought I can do it. And that's kind of what Eva Stratt is doing to Ryland Grace. So somebody's coming up to and say, yes, of course. And I would just try to be a part of it. And I enjoyed it in a way that was just beyond. I was just very happy to have those experiences. Yeah.
Ava's sort of tasked with literally saving the world. Given ultimate power, she is the highest ranking person on Earth. But you can't portray that. Like, you can't show that weight. How did you sort of try to portray that aspect of, like, yes, that's what she's doing, but you actually give her a lot more depth and a lot more to her than that?
I think that truly powerful people don't need to show that they're powerful. And I think they're so far from being ego-centered. I think truly powerful people and true leaders always care about the things that really need to be done and to be done better on this earth. They should be enablers and they should be listeners. And I think that's what I tried to do. I didn't want her to, make any noise or anything. I just wanted her to be helpful.
Your character is Dutch, but the one thing I will say is she is probably, and I've based this off of a year study abroad with a lot of German people, one of the most German characters I think that has ever been written as far. Don't you feel that? Like how she approaches things of like, well, yes, of course, this is exactly what you do. You know what I mean? Like her air to it.
Yeah.
I'm curious if it struck you as that, or if that was just a little bit of Sandra coming into it, because she reads that way in the book as well, of just like, well, of course you're going to do it.
Yes. I don't know. I mean, there are some Germans that I know who don't take a straight path towards things. They always tend to do other things. Yeah, maybe there was a reason that they chose a German woman to do that. Yeah, maybe that's true.
German people don't come for me on this, but I just felt, I was just like, I had to look up later. It's like, is this Dutch? Because I don't know. I feel that like we're going to get this done, no nonsense. And like, you're either going to get the joke or not about her, which I really think is a very like German way of approaching it. One thing that is great, she does have multitudes, as like anybody does, because she also puts out a great Harry Styles karaoke rendition in the middle of it. And you picked the song, which I think is crazy. It's all over the marketing. But what made you be like, oh yeah, how did you feel it? Because again, this came from your brain, which I think is such a great thing to know.
Well, actually came from a playlist about goodbye songs. So it was,
Oh.
yeah. So I was looking for something that was like a final goodbye to somebody.
Mm.
That was the first thing. And then it was a coincidence, actually, that it was also about space and going to the sky and all these things. And then I thought, wow, I didn't know, because I know that song, but I never made this connection in my head. And then, yeah, and I thought I found it very moving as well. And also when you sing it, it is very moving, especially in the last part when it goes like really big, which we don't show in the film. But yeah, so I realized in that moment when I listened to it, like really, really closely, that it could be for us. And then Amy Pascal made it possible that we could get that song.
Yeah, because she's Amy Pascal, so that's great. The other thing I was going to say is a lot of people, as it should, give attention to the friendship between Rocky and Grace, but y'all's dynamic between Stratt and Grace is also really a key part of this, and her faith in him and her belief in him is literally what drives a huge part of the plot. I'm curious if you could talk about working with Ryan like that, because both Phil and everyone has talked about, and you're already smiling, like he's such a tennis actor in the sense that he wants to give as much as he gets and he wants to get as much as he gives.
Yeah, it's very much about connection. He is an actor who doesn't act for the camera or himself. He really wants to experience something, and he wants to experience a true exchange, and he wants to know about the person in front of him. He's a big enabler.
Wait, you're like, he's a big enabler. You're like,
Yes,
yeah,
he
yeah,
is.
yeah.
He can make people feel very safe and comfortable, and at the same time, it's hard to keep a straight face in his presence because he's full of ideas and funny things. And he actually tried to like make me repeat things that as Stratt that he was saying as Ryland in the scenes that Stratt would never say. And I would like, it was sometimes really hard to resist because it was so much fun.
Yeah, he's infectious that way. And then one thing I will say that you mentioned in that quote that I talked about not doing big budget ones is that you said that you didn't want to do big budget movies because you felt like you would get starstruck.
Oh, yeah.
Did you were like, that's Ken?
Of course.
he's like,
Of course I did. But with everybody, I mean, everybody on the set was like, oh my God, this is really happening. But it's something that you just have to somehow deal with.
All right, I got to get out of here. And so I'm going to just ask this. And I know you can't tell us anything, but if there's any facial expression, maybe a word that you can give us about Digger, because the fact that you're doing a movie with Tom Cruise, we got to at least ask if there's anything you can say.
It's something that I've never seen before. It's really something that I've never seen before in my life.
Okay, I'll take it as that.
I'm gonna call you Rocky. Thumbs up. No, that's thumbs down. You would do the thumbs up. It's close enough.
Phil, Chris, congratulations on the film. It's been 12 years since the last 21 Jump Street. What made you feel like this was the time to come back to live action with this particular project? Although you have been working on it for like 6 years.
It's true. We read the manuscript. Ryan asked us if we wanted to do it. And we were blown away by the book and not surprised when it became like a global phenomenon because it was so emotional, so exciting, so like a thrilling story with twists and turns, but also like this relationship at the heart of it was something that really spoke to us as people who are in a working relationship. It felt like a movie that we had to do.
Yeah. Anything to add?
It seemed really hard.
And
We like to do things that are really hard.
I don't want peace. I want problems. I get that.
That's our kink.
You said that. No, I get it. Listen, I know that you guys don't think of animation as a different medium. You guys just direct, you just make movies, you just tell stories. However, you have matured as filmmakers over the past 20 years from your first film to now.
That's some miracle.
What do you think that time, whether it be in animation or your early films, made it easier to do this hard thing? Like, what lessons did you learn along the way that really helped you deliver in Project Hail Mary?
It started with Clyde with a Chance of Meatballs, which our first version of was just very like silly and goofy and sort of
Our final version was also
very silly and goofy, but it had an emotional core. And it was Amy, who was the head of the studio at the time, was like, I need a story. I need to feel things. It can't just be funny all the time.
We had to level up, and we had a lot of help. But but we learned how valuable it is when a movie isn't about a person, it's about a relationship. When you look at our work in general, that's the thing we're always looking for. And this novel had this great relationship at its center, or two, really, between him and Stratt and him and Rocky. And so it felt like these two relationships were in dialogue across the picture. And so in that way, it felt like, a natural outgrowth of like story work we've been doing in the other stuff.
Yeah, but to your point, this one's harder because where before you had maybe two different versions of Spider-Man, or maybe you had two police officers going back to high school. This time you made one of your folks a alien
Right.
and with no face and no
Yes.
eyes and no ways to emote in normal human expression. And you're like, that's half of the new buddy comedy. So how did you
It's a
then
risky move, yeah.
Did you then still
And how funny,
Yeah.
I don't know, I felt kind of confident about
Me
that
too.
part of it.
really?
We
Wow.
did, because we kept saying to people like, Pixar makes you feel something about a lamp, right?
Facts.
We're like, movement can create humanity, and we had a lot of other tools.
And the Lego guys, like, they can't, their hands,
They can't even,
God.
they can't clap.
they just do this. So it was like all the problem solving seemed exciting to us, in a movie about problem solving. It was like, how do you make a heartwarming story between two people who literally, there's
There's a
always a
between
pane
them.
of glass between them.
Yeah.
Right.
It sounds like that wasn't the harder thing. Was the harder thing the opposite of what you do in animation, which is that you actually had to keep it very, very real? Like you actually did have to play within certain parts of the sandbox, like you couldn't, you know what I mean? Or was that a challenge at all?
I can't say we spent a lot of time like worrying about that. The thing about like shooting a movie like this is so many things are grounding you. Like just the physicality of like, you have to build this, you have to photograph it, that character, like Rocky is operated by 5 puppeteers led by this amazing guy, James Ortiz. You can't just like wiggle around and like fly. Like there's all this ballast. So really our job is to like make sure it's a good time, to like stoke the coals and make sure that the fire remains lit.
Right. And that's why we wanted to have Rocky be there, why we wanted to have all the sets of the Hail Mary be real, why we wanted there to be, something to shoot every time. There was no green screen in the movie whatsoever. And so the movie could feel real because the camera operator was really like responding to what was happening in the moment and wasn't just going like, okay, I assume over here is something interesting is probably going to happen. It was all like really there. So that's why it feels very tactile and personal.
The other thing I think is interesting is you still, even though there's a lot of descriptions in the book, had to decide his physical look. Like, how did you decide, okay, this is our Rocky? Like, how long in the process?
It was a
like a
long
year and a
journey.
half.
It was
Wow.
a long journey. And Neil Scanlon was the person we called up first. We had an amazing experience working with him the first time. And he's just a really thoughtful, smart person. And so we knew that was going to be our partner in designing what he looked like. We knew that we wanted each side of his non-face to have a different architecture.
Personality.
That it brought.
We knew you were going to project a personality onto this thing, whatever we presented. So we wanted to load the dice.
Right.
So it was like easy to imagine. Like, he's a sweetheart. And then when it turns quarter turn, you're like, he's grouchy.
And then we added all these like carvings and textures onto his body that would show that he had like culture and history. And we had explanations and ideas for each one of them. Like, this one is his mission patch. This one is his wedding band. This one is his house tartan.
He's a ruler.
Yeah, he has a
Here,
ruler because he's an
He's
engineer.
an engineer, so he has to like measure things all
Right.
the time.
And then we had this one.
He's a flat plate.
He had this thing of like, he can like make noise like a cicada or something. And then that ended up becoming the thing we used for their farewell. And, it was all because we had spent so much time thinking about Rocky's past and his history and his culture and try to make something that felt lived in and real.
And I think now we would say that you guys are like the kings of bromance. Like, like a little bit. You know what I mean? Like,
They say you only make one movie.
I don't want to say that. That's whittling y'all down. But literally, y'all have definitely been able to like figure this out across mediums. What would you say was the best part about that sort of like bromance between Rocky and Ryland that y'all got to shoot? One of your favorite moments with it?
What's so cool about Ryan is that he can have chemistry with anyone, and he brings stuff out of people. And so having Rocky on set there and having him on set there and watching the magic happen, you're like, this was, anytime we've done this and it's worked, you know it when you're shooting it, because you're like, I'm feeling something. And so I know the audience is going to feel something.
My favorite parts are about the social anxiety of grown men. Right? It's like Ryan is like socially nervous around the alien. Why wouldn't you be? And he's like, oh, I'm sorry I'm talking so much. Like, like, I'm just really excited to be here. When Sandra comes into the movie, he's afraid of being like socially embarrassed. And I thought he played, and that, only at times Chris and I can relate to that feeling ourselves. We always said, like, this is a movie about can adult men make friends.
I said it's how adult men make friends like women, and that's like a true thing. Anyway, I'm gonna get out of here.
What does that mean? How adult men make friends like women?
Like women's friendships, like that's the way that they all.
So wait, adult women make friends with each
well,
other?
I would say the way that women in general have friendships compared to the way men have friendships.
Right. Well, yeah, you're like men have.
No,
right. I talk to.
We don't have them.
Right.
Yeah.
You talk to someone.
You're trying your happy, but I want to break it down with you.
Yeah.
Because it is a mystery to us. Tell us how it works.
Yeah, like I come back from a dinner with somebody and my wife's like, so what's going on with them? Like, what's going on with this X, Y, and Z? Like, oh, it didn't really come up. I really guess we didn't talk about that.
Salad.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get out of here because I don't want
okay.
these mad, but I will end in this one. It is the love that you can actually experience when y'all make stuff. That level of vulnerability is what men don't normally do, and that's the way I would put it.
Right. Thank you.
Very sweet.
It's now or never.
Congratulations on the film. It's absolutely incredible. Andy, I'll start with you. After The Martian, what made you want to then go on this adventure with Ryland Grace and this type of hero?
Well, often forgotten, there was a book in the middle there called Artemis, known as Andy Weir's other book.
Then in space.
Yes. It was actually sort of a pastiche of a bunch of different story ideas I had. I always wanted to write a first contact story. I always wanted to write a story about what we could do right now in the modern day with a mass conversion-based fuel. I had an idea about a guy who wakes up aboard a spaceship with amnesia, and stolen from a different story that I'd written but never published because it sucked was a very powerful woman who's just given unlimited authority to solve a problem. And so I kind of lifted her and put her in and kind of glued all the pieces together and sanded off the edges, and it made for one pretty good story.
So this is a kind of a Frankenstein story a little bit. I love that. I dig that a lot because it's really good.
Thank you.
Very a la Frankenstein. And for Juicer, we just spoke and you talked a little bit about, like, again, the intimidation factor of like adapting such a great book. But I'm curious, when you know that you have to do a book, there's going to be like truncation. You're going to have to take some things out. What was the one thing that you were like fighting to keep in it? Maybe in like working yourself into a dizzy trying to keep in it.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I always try to talk to authors about with adaptation is you have to cut about 95% of the book. You really do. A screenplay is about efficiency. And the problem is, whenever I say yes, it's to something I love. So I'm the one doing the butchering of the very thing I love, which is a whole other story we don't have to get into of my own psyche. But in this case, we got almost everything I loved except for there's a scene in the book where they decide they need to nuke Antarctica to help buy themselves time on Earth. And that was the last to go in the process. We just couldn't find the screen time and the screen space to do it justice because we didn't want to just be a fast thing. You sort of have to understand why they're doing it and live in it. But that was at the very end. Everything else, I think, there's stuff I miss, but I know why we had to lose it. Antarctica was the one that really hurt.
Yeah, there's a great scene in that one for an actor if they got to play it.
I know.
Yeah, no, I get that one. I really do.
Maybe an extended cut someday.
Oh, dig it.
Well, Chris and Phil can shoot it.
We didn't shoot it.
Oh, yeah, they didn't shoot it.
Chris and Phil can figure it out. I promise.
That's a good. Have faith.
We'll fix it in post.
Yeah. That's good. Have faith. That's a sort of an essential part of the movie. Another essential part of it is the friendship between Rocky and Grace. And I would say when you were sort of crafting it, what do you think sort of like is the key to their friendship? Because the bones of everything that we see on screen starts in the book.
Within the story, the key to their friendship is they have a common goal which has incredibly high importance to both of them. Like, they're both literally trying to save their entire respective species. So working together is an obvious thing that they should do. Also, they're both scientists, or more accurately, Ryland is a scientist and Rocky's an engineer. But they're both of a mind of, like, people who have been sent out to solve a problem. So with that single-minded obsession, it turns out to be, like, best to work together. But then also, they're just a couple of bros in space. That's the heart of the story, is their friendship.
Yeah, and they are very bro-y in that. Like, they're the typical, like, science bros, if I could say that. Like, if you were at JPL, they would feel right at home right there, right?
I think so.
Yeah. Drew, for you, another aspect of the movie is this, like, humor balanced with the more, like, I would say, like, devastating emotional moments. And I know you're not crafting the screenplay like, 20% here, 30% there, but you do have to keep a pace to it. How do you sort of approach that to make sure it still felt, like, funny and heartfelt all the way through, and it didn't have too many long stretches without either?
If you look at my resume, I've done such wildly different films and TV shows. The one thing they all have in common is they both are not afraid to be funny and dramatic in the same scenes. It's the thing that I love. It's the thing that I love about Andy's work. I think, so a lot of it is instinct, is just trusting that you'll find it. When in doubt, go with the emotion is my general rule of thumb. I always say, if a joke doesn't work, we can cut it. But if the emotional core of the scene doesn't work, we're dead. And so we built around the emotional arcs and then just let the jokes come at rapid fire.
I like that. The movie obviously talks about contact with an alien. That's not giving anything away. There's so much more to it than that. But as someone that's written a lot about space, do you think we're going to be at the, like, there's been a lot of alien talk recently. Do you think that we're at the full disclosure moment of, like, alien? Come on, why are you laughing at me?
I'm not laughing. I'm not laughing at you.
But, I mean, what do you think? Like, I'm sure you have opinions.
I do. I don't think that, so here's my general opinion. I think that there are so many stars, so many planets, so many galaxies, the odds are incredibly high that there are other intelligent species of life out there in the universe. However, I also, I'm a science fiction writer, so I like to write about fiction that's interesting. But when we're getting into the realities, I do not think that it will ever be possible to travel faster than light or send information faster than light. I think that's an absolute hard limit that can never be worked around or overcome in our universe. And so if the nearest intelligent life is 10,000 light years away, then it would take 10,000 years to say hi, and then 10,000 years to get a response. And so I absolutely do not think any alien species have ever visited Earth or anything like that.
Oh, definitive. I dig it.
I don't agree. They're here now. They're here right now.
This is a book writer to screenwriter.
I'm positive.
I love it. I did want to ask one quick question too about the fact that, you obviously collaborated on The Martian. What was the thing about that process that helped you in crafting Project Hail Mary? And did that make you, like, I think after winning an Oscar, you'd be like, I'm good.
I didn't win. I lost.
Nominated.
So there's still room to improve.
Yes. Nominated, yes.
No, but honestly, it's just I love Andy's work. That it really is that simple. Like, I love Andy's work, and I think there's trust from having gone through it that he knows I'm not lying to him, that I love it. Like, we really can roll up our sleeves and get in there and do it. And in that regard, it's been a wonderful collaboration.
I dig that very much. And then my very last question, because this was a TikTok, is did Hank Green really give you notes?
Yeah, he really did. He really did. He basically pointed out, I think, that the math on my pendulum was wrong. And he gave me notes on that, and I corrected it. And it was, Hank doesn't know this, so Hank, if you're watching, it was the last change made to the book before it went to print. Like, the book was in the production pipeline, and I thought, oh, well, it's just going to have to be an error. And I told my editor about it, and he said, like, it's in the pipeline, but I don't think they've actually started the print run yet. So this was like moments before they were going to fire off the print run. And so I just needed to change a couple of things to put Hank's correction in. But yes, absolutely.